Okay, another one in the books at the Dragon Lair today with Neil Hill. We trained arms. What'd you think of that workout, Neil?
Yeah, it was a great workout, guys. So today we've been concentrating on kind of a medium lower rep range. So the rep range was anywhere between sort of 10 and kind of like 15 to 16 repetitions. Obviously, as we were going through our working sets, we were getting slightly weaker, which is very normal. So don't get caught up in the fact that you might be losing strength and repetitions as you go through working sets. That's something that will definitely happen. If it doesn't happen, then you haven't put enough mental, physical stimulation and efforts into your working sets, or you're taking too much rest between your working sets. So our rest period was about 75 seconds. We try to keep it within that time parameter so the intensity was there. But primarily today we kind of been focusing on myofibria hypertrophy. So kind of focusing on the fast twitch and medium twitch muscle fibers. You're going to get a crossover depending on the repetitions and obviously the effort. But it was super productive. I got a great pump. Felt really good in the gym. Felt really great.
Now it seemed like we really put an emphasis on the big part of the tricep, the inside. Do you normally do that, or will some workouts be more outside based, or do you try to hit them all?
No, I was trying to put my emphasis on the meatier rear head sections of your triceps, because as you go through towards that failure point, your body is going to create a stimulus to bring in as many muscle fiber activation as possible. Also, you want to try and recruit large motor unit recruitment as fast as you possibly can, so you're going to get more of a stimulus and more muscle fibers being brought into play. So irrespective whether it was the fact that you were trying to target your outer or rear heads, you're going to create that environment for mass all over your triceps, and once you've dissipated obviously your rear heads, it's obviously going to translation into another area. So no, I don't tend to sort of separate the heads of my tricep. I always try to target towards the rear heads, because that's where the meatier section of your triceps, and as I said, the stress is always going to transmit further afield.
So you're saying if you work that fat head, you're automatically going to train that outer head?
Yeah, 100%. You know, there's no doubts about it. It's like very much like doing squats or leg press. You know that, you know, when they say foot position, you know, your feet or your toes should be facing further in or out. No, that stress and load is going to always go where your movement patterns are more in line, and that stress is always going to go where it finds its easiest point. So even though you can correct your form very, very slightly, you're still going to create stimulus throughout the whole of your quads when you're doing squats or when you're doing leg presses.
Well, I haven't had a leg day with you yet, but I've learned a lot on my back and my arms and in 2 workouts, so you know, thanks. I look forward to having a leg workout with you one day, and I can't thank you enough.
No, you're welcome, Miles. And as I said,
was great.
It's 6 weeks out from Olympia, and this guy is going to be stepping on stage 6 weeks today. He'll be pre-judging in Las Vegas, and this guy
chasing champions.
Well, I think that
you created.
Well, maybe, but I think they're chasing you as much, Zane. Like everybody's got their strengths and everybody's got their weaknesses.
Sure.
You know, you've got your own physique, which is very difficult to compete against because you've got height on everybody else. You've got long limbs, so it gives you that aura of depth. And you like always come in, man, with crazy conditioning, and that's what it's all about. It's being complete.
I think the top guys in our class kind of have no choice but to come in with that conditioning, being 212 pounds.
Yeah, that is a point. Yeah, that's true. But unfortunately, you know, peaking on the day, you know,
I'm not 3% body fat. I'm not 212 pounds.
No, that's pretty quick. No, I think to be honest with you, you've got to, obviously, you know, you lose muscle to weight like that. But definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing you on stage, and I've appreciated your time here in Boca, and this is 2 workouts of many. What do you think the lowest
body fat percentage somebody can obtain and, you know, be on stage? And
I mean, when I was a middleweight bodybuilder, I had to lose about 8 pounds of muscle to make weight. It was very difficult for me. I was probably
a bit counterproductive.
Well, I was too extreme. My condition was probably too conditioned. You know, it got to the point where that was just an extreme level of conditioning. You know, obviously you're excreting.
So where would the line be, you think, of being too conditioned, like under 4%?
I think that you could be 3 or 4% body fat and still be very healthy and active and responsive on stage. The problem is that when you have to lose, you know, a considerable amount of muscle tissue to make weight, but it's done in hardship, if that makes sense, because, you know, I'm going to have to take about 6 pounds of muscle off flex. and I'll let that muscle dissipate over a period of about the last 4 weeks, if that makes sense. Yes,
Yeah.
it's not healthy for me to keep him at body fat percentage for stage ready for 6 or 8 weeks. It's it's not healthy. It's not a healthy environment because you're excreting vital fats from vital organs as well. But I think it comes down to how harsh your diet is. Yes.
So if you lose, let's say you lose 6 pounds of muscle in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
In between the time of weighing in and being on stage, is it possible to have any of that muscle back, or it's just an illusion?
No. You'll get
No, right?
you'll get muscle fullness.
Sure.
But then again, there's a fine line because creating fullness after weigh-ins is easy. It's easy. You put fluid in, obviously you put nutrients back in, and you're going to have to make sure you're getting some form of fast digesting carbs in. Now, I don't know what you're doing as far as your pre-contest diet, but with me, I would lose body fat, I would lose muscle tissue with about 450 grams of complex carbs a day. I can do that once my metabolism going. With Flex, on his high days, I'm only running about 320 grams of carbs. On his medium days, I'm running about 220, and then low days, he's on about 100 to 120. But
So you go intermittent?
yeah, so I'll depend, obviously, see how his body's holding up, how flat he's getting, how hard he's looking in the gym, what kind of new lines and details, obviously, which has taken place. This morning, he was actually 227.5. Only a couple of days ago, he was down to more or less 224.
Wow,
but yesterday, he was very well hydrated. He had an IV as well, so that's obviously going to put weight
Brought him
on.
up.
Yeah, and it's false weight as well,
Sure.
If you can actually hold that volume or that water, within, intercellular muscular, then that's fine. But if it's obviously going to be under the skin, then obviously it's a totally different thing. But my point with your answer is that when you're on a very hard diet and your body's not used to consuming, a large amount of carbohydrates, it's very difficult, obviously, to get your digestive system active and live and be able to extract those carbs and break them down into glycogen and then store them in the muscle.
That's my biggest problem.
So that's
It takes me 3 days to normalize.
Yeah, to normalize. Yeah, so that's
Like I was telling you yesterday, if I just did whatever I wanted to for 2 days, I would look my best.
yeah. But unfortunately, the way that the weigh-ins are, but they're fair because it's fair for everybody. Everybody's in the
Sure.
same boat. But it potentially will allow the athletes who are slightly lighter to bring in possibly their best. But the guys at the top end, like you, there's Flex, Ascanani, there's David Henry, there's Jose, that's just mentioning, there's a multiple guys up there who have to lose some muscle to make weight.
Of course.
And most of you guys are at the top end of the scale, so you're all facing the same battles, and it's about fine time and, very much. When it's the last 3 days before the show, I'm literally micromanaging every single meal and every ounce of water which goes into Flex to make sure that we come in under the weight limit, but we're on a positive state for us to transcend and move forward when it comes to the loading phase.
Now I know, like me, you guys are always within half a pound of weighing in at 212.
Yeah, we always come.
So obviously it comes down to the hour.
Yeah, and the body can change, dramatically in an hour, guys. So we've got to also make sure that, you're not in that dissipated, too high, dehydrated position as well, because if your body is over-dehydrated come weigh-ins, you more or less say that you've missed your opportunity, to come in at your best, 2 days later, because it's Russian roulette then.
Now, I don't really want to open a can of worms, but, kind of the same thing where controversial issue where like boxing has gone. And I did the New York Pro this year, and you weigh in at 9 a.m. and you're on stage at 11 a.m. You have to basically be 212 pounds on stage, not much more. You're maybe 215. You get a bottle of Gatorade in you and one meal. What's your opinion on that? I think my opinion would be that every show should be the same.
Yeah.
The weigh-in time should be the same. Now, do you think guys should be closer to 212 on stage? Obviously, it's not as exciting for the viewers. The bigger the guy is, the better. But what do you think about that?
I think in a perfect world, guys, I would rather see the weigh-ins first thing on show day morning.
Saturday morning.
That would help me better for my job. Flex would bring a better look to the stage. To be honest with you, if I was able to weigh in Flex more on the show,
really,
I'd feel like
better.
Yeah, I do, because I tell you
so
why.
So he'd be on
Zane,
stage at 212.
He'd be on stage at 212.
And you think he'd look his best there?
Yeah, I do. And the reason I say this is that people think that Flex walks on stage after weigh-ins 2 days later at 216. No, he's about 210 to 212. Really? And the reason that happens is that we have to weigh in a couple of days before show, yes?
Yeah.
So we weigh in
for the Olympia.
For the Olympia, okay? And it's fair for everyone, so it's fine, okay? So I'm not saying it's a bad thing. But once he's weighed in, I then have to calculate water, and I have to calculate carbohydrates, what I'm going to put into him.
Sure.
And I need to make sure that he's able to digest and utilize those fluids and that food. And there can be a lot of variables taking place leading into that. But you know as well as I do, if you go to bed, at night, you're always going to wake up lighter in the morning.
I go to bed 227 and I wake up 223.
Yeah.
5 pounds.
Okay, 5 pounds. So
I don't know where it goes.
But you're always drier in the morning.
Sure.
And that's without you even trying. That's without you out drying out. So my point is if I could put Flex in a perfect situation where he goes to bed about 216, say, or 215, 216, and he's bang on point, I know when he wakes up in the morning, he's going to wake up dry the next day. And I don't have to worry or be concerned about the fact then, how many grams of carbs or fat. He's going to come in full, and he's going to come in hard, and he's going to come in dry. It will suit him really well. Now, that makes it easier for me. But I don't look at whether it's easy or not, because all you guys are in the same position. And to be honest with you, I enjoy the fact that we are always learning and trying different things. The human body can adapt very, very well. You've also got to be intelligent enough and smart enough and confident enough in your own abilities of what you're going to bring to the stage. So for me, I would be happy if the weigh-ins were, for instance, 9 o'clock a.m. day of the show for every show. But it's not always possible. Why? Because some of these shows, like the Mr. Olympia, they're so vast. They would struggle possibly to get registration weigh-ins done with us in a certain time frame, because there's such a big event taking place.
Yeah, of course.
So as I
was surprised the New York show ran so smooth. I was a little thrown off that the weigh-in was hours before the show, but honestly, as soon as everybody weighed in, everybody was out of there. Everybody was on time on stage at 11.
Yeah.
And the show was, what bugs me is when a show goes to like 12 o'clock, 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
That show was over by like 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously credit to the promoter Steve, who's obviously does an amazing job, and obviously the officials and everybody within that event. Everything's micro-timed. Everyone's super efficient, and everyone's treated the same, irrespective. Which country, where they're from, black, white, whatever, where they place. Everybody's stepping into that show in a very fair position. So
I agree.
Guys, I got to get out of here because I got to get back to my apartment. Got to shower, change, get my meals ready. Got to get back here to the gym, and then myself and Flex and the crew, we're all heading off to the Tampa Pro later on today.
Very cool. From the Dragon's Lair, we're out. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
That was